Welcome back to the Makers of MidCity podcast. I'm your host, Clark Dunn.
I'm Lindsay Patillo-Keene. I'm the Executive Director of MidCity District Association.
Yeah, and today we have the opportunity to sit down with Briana Goodloe to talk a little bit about her role with the Metronome and the Wellery. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, so before we kind of dive in to talk about both of these apartment complexes, talk a little bit about your journey to get here to Huntsville and your role that you have now.
Okay. Well, I am from a very small town in Northwest Alabama called Cherokee. It's like population 1,500. Shout out to them. I have been here since 2012. I came here for UAH. I have been doing property management since 2016. This is my 9th year going into it. I started as a leasing agent. I made my way to assistant property manager. And within 6 months, I was promoted to a stabilized property manager. I stayed there the longest of my career. So I went there from 2018 to 2020. And then January 2021, I became a luxury lease-up manager. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah. And so talk a little bit about Metronome. That's the building we're actually in for this podcast. Talk a little bit about that. And I think you have a unique experience because you have been living here as Metronome is growing. So talk a little bit about that too.
I have. So we're a 296 unit complex set in the very middle of MidCity District. The construction process was pretty smooth. Everything went well. We opened in the time frame that we thought. Living here, I have watched it grow into something amazing. I've watched every resident come in and love it and love the growth that it's, it has, MidCity has. Like right now, everyone's favorite is Tupelo honey. That's all I hear is Tupelo honey, like every 5 minutes. But just, I don't know, from starting being here, like living here, MidCity as a whole has come a long way. I know that to my understanding, this is 30-40% done, but it's still come a long way for me. It's a truly walkable community. It's something that you can walk. You can go to Starbucks, Trader Joe's, the camp. There's always something to do. Literally, the camp has something almost every night. It has just been a definite fun experience.
Yeah. And so I think what most people that come to visit MidCity to go to Tupelo Honey or go to Blue Oak or wherever it might be, they see the construction and it's hard to imagine that people are living here sometimes.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that occupancy that Metronome has currently as we're sitting in January of 2025.
Right. So currently we are pre-leased at 96%. We are occupied at 93%. It was a long journey to get here. You are obviously selling the vision and you're selling what MidCity will become. And it was pretty easy. MidCity has made it easy. Lindsay has made it easy for sure. But to get here, it has been a process and just a little bit of a challenge. But people tend to see the vision. MidCity has amazing marketing efforts to help us there.
Yeah. And so getting the word out about Metronome as that project was finishing and you're ready to start taking leasing opportunities for people to start moving in. Was there any sort of unique things that you were doing to reach that community to kind of, it was under construction. It was a new thing. And the idea of living here at MidCity is fairly new. I mean, there's not too many residential places. What difficulties or what conversations were you having with people that you kind of had to educate them on? Not only about maybe Huntsville if they're new to the area, but MidCity as a whole.
So what's funny is we started off leasing in the green room, like above the green room. They have that trailer above the green room. So we were able to start selling MidCity from just simply offering them a cup of coffee. So that's where we started. And so then as we progressed to be able to get into the leasing office, that's when you start, showing your models and showing the community. And, it comes down to the hospitality of your team, like what we offer. And I think it's a bit different than what most properties offer. And I think that's, each property to property, they all have the same amenities. They all have, the leasing agents and a manager and an assistant manager. But I think it comes down to your team and what they do for the residents. What type of resident events do you have? What type of communication do you have? Do you even know the residents' names? That it changes everything. It changes who you are. They remember my name. A lot of people say, I didn't even know you knew my name. Of course I know your name. So we go through those are the challenges that I think other communities have. So with Metronome, I didn't think we had too many challenges because we built a team surrounding like hospitality. So it's really worked for us.
Yeah. Lindsay, talk a little bit about some of those, like we alluded to a little bit earlier, just the events that are going on and how MidCity as a whole is working with Metronome and even some of the future projects like the Wellery to kind of create that synergy between the residents of MidCity and then the events that are happening that are also for the public.
Yeah. Well, it's MidCity's commitment to create memorable experiences and to provide reasons why people not only want to live here, but the reason why people visit. Um, I feel like it's no greater honor to me as a MidCity gal for people to call MidCity home. I'm so moved by that, especially how many people already call it home. And we have so many fantastic businesses here. If I lived here and, walking to Squeeze Massage and then getting a brunch at Tupelo and then swinging by the farmer's market and Trader Joe's and then at night hitting a show at the Orion and being able to keep my car parked the entire duration of that. The hospitality that Briana and her team show guests and residents is second to none. So we are thrilled to have people living here, and with our proximity to Cummings Research Park and accessibility to Redstone, I think there's so many reasons why people would want to live here. And although we have a lot left to build, we have a ton built and a ton of wonderful places to enjoy. And that's the reason why it's so full already. And so we just continue to see it will be easier and easier to live here. If it already is. And we're honored by people calling MidCity home.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we've talked with Chef Lauren on the podcast, and she actually is a resident of Metronome and, works within MidCity and lives within MidCity. And you work and live within MidCity. What's it like to not presumably you don't have to even drive to go anywhere that you really want to. I mean, you have everything within wall. Was that a unique, was it tough to get into that routine of hey, I actually don't have to get in my car to go somewhere? Or did it seem natural that you were I could walk to get whatever I needed?
It was actually unique. I've never lived anywhere where I didn't have to walk to get or drive to get to something. So it was definitely a unique experience. I did have to remember I don't have to drive to Trader Joe's. I can walk. Or, I don't have to, drive to Starbucks. I can walk. So we would walk. I would literally walk in the mornings and I would see Max at Starbucks. I'm like, hey, Max, good morning. So that was different. That's something different. That is nothing like anything else that I've lived at in Huntsville, and I've been here since 2012. So there's nothing that I've done similar to that. So it's definitely been unique and super helpful and saves on gas.
Yeah, I know, for sure. And so as you're, you're not only selling Metronome, you're selling it to people that come in, you're living in it. How hard is it for you to take off the hat of a resident and also, hey, this is your job? As you're having conversations with people, or even too, as you're experiencing the amenities and the lifestyle of Metronome, how much are you looking at it from the consumer's point of view?
So I always take the consumer point of view into consideration, but I will tell you this about me. You're getting the hospitality, Bree, no matter the time or day. So if I'm walking around at 7:00 at night and a resident stops me, I'm going to answer their question. I'm going to do what I can to help them. That's just me though. But living here as a resident, I've used the amenity spaces. I've reserved the amenity spaces. I've, had get-togethers at the amenity spaces. And so I use them just like anyone else, just being more cautious, I guess you could say, just making sure I'm respecting the boundaries of the residents and making sure everyone is happy.
Yeah. And so, the Metronome is one of the residential locations within MidCity. The Wellery is the new and exciting, the buzz is around it. Talk a little bit about what the Wellery is and kind of what makes it unique.
So Wellery is going to be the Southeast first net zero residences. And there is so much hype around Wellery, even from Metronome residents. Metronome residents are super excited about Wellery. And they're like, can we jump ship? I'm like, no, not yet. We can't have that. No, they're super excited. And we even have tours to this day that come in and want to discuss, what net zero means or sustainability and what that means. So I think this is on a larger scale, something different that Huntsville hasn't seen, that the Southeast hasn't seen, that we can, discuss and educate as we grow and fill the properties. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. And so what's the sort of the timeline as people are listening to this episode that the Wellery will be open able to take leasing opportunities?
So I am here to tour everyone beginning in August.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm super excited, long as there are no delays, obviously. But August is when we're expecting to be able to tour. We'll pre-lease a little bit before that. We'll probably start pre-leasing around May, but August would be the time frame to actually come see Wellery.
Nice.
And Bree, can you give a little snippet on the net zero, because it's the common area spaces that are that the solar powers and alternate forms of energy that will be net zero.
Mhm.
So all the common area spaces will not be pulling from our grid.
Right.
So there's some sustainability elements that really make it a unique place to live. If you want to touch a little bit on that.
I only know from the aspect of like with the common area spaces, not pulling so much like energy that would reduce bills for residents across the board.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's as far that they've
Okay.
allowed me to get into it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can touch more on that. But with the solar panels on the roof, and there's some elements of sustainability that are really playing a key into that.
Yeah. And so I think it's too is, you have been growing the residents here at Metronome up to this 96% that y'all are now experiencing as MidCity is continuing to grow around you, and figuring out any sort of, hurdles you might have to go through to get to that point. What are you looking forward to most with the Wellery, as MidCity is at a point now that there is more happening than it was when you first started working with Metronome, and how like that will impact the growth that Wellery will have in its first year?
So one part of Wellery that I'm super excited about, and I don't know how many people know this, but Wellery will have a market, like a bodega style market. And I'm so excited to see how that pans out. And that's something that I talk about all the time, just because it's going to be open for anyone to go in. And so you truly do not have to leave, MidCity, because the nearest gas station is kind of across the street. So you truly do not have to leave MidCity even for just a snack. Like Trader Joe's closes. Wow. It's something that's going to be open. That's something that I'm super thrilled about. I don't know why. Like super happy to, like late night snacks. Yeah, the convenience of it for sure. So we talk about that. That's exciting. So that is something that we bring up all the time.
The hospitality nature of that, and a little bit of a
Offering
hotel
more
amenity, treating it more like a hotel 24/7. Then I love that.
And it's interesting just too, as someone that, comes and enjoys MidCity, coming to a show, going to eat. I mean, I was literally out here last night for an event. You see these buildings come up, and it really does change the landscape of what it is. And I think you're going to get to a point too with MidCity that you're going to be able to walk within it and not realize that you're off University. And that's going to be such a unique thing that I think if anyone's listening and, they're waiting for construction to be done, please don't wait. There's plenty of amazing things. We've talked about a lot of the things out here. As we're, getting the start of 2025 off and rolling, what are you kind of most excited about from the role that you play with Metronome and the Wellery, as well as just, hey, I'm a resident here at MidCity, and what are you most excited to see?
So really, Orion's lineup so far has been really good. So I'm excited about Orion's lineup, truthfully. The camp events, obviously, like I'm super excited for those. They host quite a few. Camp to Amp is Metronome's favorite thing to be a part of. So every year even residents come to Camp to Amp. A lot of our residents come to Camp to Amp. It's right outside their door. So they just walk downstairs and go to Camp to Amp, and they just love it. It's so much fun. It's, family friendly, and it gets all of MidCity's tenants involved, and that's what makes it special. So MidCity residents or everyone in Huntsville really can come out and take part in that. So you get to learn a little bit more about MidCity and what we bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate you being here today. I feel like, as like I said, I've said it multiple times on the episode, but as someone who comes here and visits here a lot, it's sometimes crazy to think that 96% of this Metronome building is occupied, and just that growth that y'all have been able to have in your role, and being kind of with that a little bit of that the growth moving into the Wellery, and being able to see the impact that you'll have within the hospitality and with just the residents in general living here within MidCity. I think the impact you've had is already evident, and I think the impact you're going to have for years to come is going to be evident. We'll be sure to have everything in the episode notes. If anyone wants to find out more information about the Metronome, about the Wellery, looking for a place to live, we'll have the links down below. But I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks you so
Bree.
much.